Spirits, according to various cultural and spiritual beliefs, can play a significant role in causing and exacerbating trauma in a person's life, potentially leading to disorders like post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD.
PTSD is a mental health condition that can develop after a person experiences or witnesses a traumatic event. The condition is characterized by symptoms such as intense, disturbing thoughts and feelings related to the experience, flashbacks, nightmares, and severe anxiety.
The impact of spirits on a person's mental and emotional state can be a contributing factor to the development of PTSD and its progression. In many belief systems, spirits are thought to interact with the living in ways that can be either benign or harmful.
When malevolent spirits seek to cause harm, they may do so by manipulating a person's emotions and thoughts, especially during vulnerable moments such as after experiencing trauma.
These spirits might amplify the negative emotions tied to the traumatic event, such as fear, guilt, or helplessness, making it harder for the individual to process and move past the experience.
One way spirits can instigate trauma is by magnifying the sensory and emotional recollections of the traumatic event. They may cause the individual to repeatedly relive the event in their mind, intensifying the feelings of terror and despair associated with it.
This constant reliving of trauma can overwhelm the person's ability to cope, leading to the onset of PTSD. Once PTSD has developed, spirits can further exploit the symptoms to establish a deeper foothold in the person's life.
PTSD often makes individuals highly susceptible to fear and anxiety. They may become easily startled, constantly on edge, and hyper-aware of their surroundings, always anticipating danger.
Spirits can take advantage of this heightened state of alertness by creating situations or experiences that trigger these fears.
For example, they might influence the person's environment or thoughts to induce unsettling sounds, sudden movements, or disturbing dreams, all designed to keep the person in a state of constant fear.
This ongoing fear and anxiety can lead to a cycle where the person becomes increasingly isolated, avoiding social interactions and situations that might trigger their PTSD symptoms.
As the person withdraws from others, the spirits can further manipulate their emotions, deepening their sense of isolation and despair. This isolation not only makes it harder for the person to seek help or support, but also strengthens the spirit's influence over them.
Inducing sleep paralysis and nightmares. As the person's fear and anxiety continue to grow, their sleep patterns are often disrupted.
Nightmares and disturbed sleep are common symptoms of PTSD, and spirits may exploit this by inducing terrifying dreams or even sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis is a condition where the person wakes up but is unable to move, often accompanied by the sensation of a malevolent presence in the room.
This state, which exists in the space between wakefulness and sleep, is a fertile ground for spirits to manifest and instill fear.
The fear experienced during sleep paralysis is often intense, as the person feels completely vulnerable and unable to escape.
The sensation of being held down or suffocated, common in sleep paralysis, may be interpreted as the direct influence of a spirit.
This experience reinforces the person's fears and anxieties, further entrenching the PTSD symptoms and making it even harder to break free from the cycle of trauma.
Creating a cyclic process of fear and isolation. The spirit's influence creates a vicious cycle that is difficult to escape.
The initial trauma leads to PTSD, which then makes the person more susceptible to fear and social isolation.
This isolation, in turn, gives spirits greater control over the person's emotional and mental state, leading to more intense nightmares, sleep paralysis, and further entrenchment of the traumatic memories.
Each cycle of fear and isolation reinforces the next, making it increasingly difficult for the individual to regain control over their life.
This cycle can lead the person into a state of chronic fear and emotional instability, where they are constantly battling both the memories of their trauma and the ongoing influence of malevolent spirits.
Over time, the person's ability to distinguish between reality and the influence of these spirits may diminish, leading to further mental health challenges and deepening their sense of despair.
Breaking the cycle. Breaking this cycle requires a multifaceted approach that addresses both the psychological and spiritual aspects of the person's experience.
On the psychological side, treatments such as therapy, counseling, and possibly medication can help the person process their trauma, reduce PTSD symptoms, and regain a sense of control over their life.
On the spiritual side, practices that focus on protection, grounding, and cleansing may be necessary to diminish the influence of the spirits.
For some, this might involve rituals, prayer, or the use of protective symbols or talismans to ward off negative spirits.
For others, engaging in mindfulness, meditation, or other practices that promote mental and emotional stability can be key.
By addressing both the mind and spirit, it is possible to weaken the hold that both PTSD and malevolent spirits have over the person, allowing them to heal and move forward. In conclusion, spirits can play a significant role in the development and exacerbation of PTSD by manipulating emotions, amplifying fears, and creating a cycle of trauma and isolation.
This cycle can lead to sleep paralysis and increased susceptibility to nightmares, further reinforcing the person's mental distress.
However, by recognizing and addressing both the psychological and spiritual dimensions of this experience, it is possible to break the cycle and reclaim control over one's life.